Hello, everyone. Welcome to Coffee with Coaches. I am here with Al and Corey. And this week, we are going to talk about doing our conferences, our student led conferences online, and how that might look differently. So, I thought what we might do is first take a look at the Wakelet, or not the Wakelet, the module that I created. So let me share my screen. Okay. So on our coach's website, you can find this module, and it has some great links on here that you can go explore. And if you want a little refresher on what student-led conferences might look like in the past, you can click on this link here, or you can explore some of these other links. And I just wanted to take you to a couple. So this is Tarrant's website, and they had a great article about switching to online student-led conferences. And I love how, I think this was Katie Farber, and I love how she says, okay, deep breath, change of plans, we got this. It's a little bit different, but we can still do this, right? So there's some great tips and tricks on how to set up the appointments, conferencing via Zoom. In our case, it would be Google Meets, and structuring your online student-led conference. As well as need a new structure, try this one. So in the module, the apply is actually to take those ideas and build your own structure so that you can think about that ahead of time and what that might look like for you, because they are fast approaching. And then there's some useful tips and tricks. Bandwidth an issue. This is a great section here because we have lots of parents and students that don't have great access, right? So this is a great space to look at. There's also on here another 7 tips for remote conferences. And this is the common sense. We talked about that. Guys, was that last week or the week before? I can't remember.
Last week.
Last week, we talked about common sense. So here's one of their great articles that they have, 7 tips for remote family teacher conferences. And again, they have some scheduling ideas, talking about being flexible, use screen sharing. And I do believe on our YouTube channel, we have a video on screen sharing, and there was another idea in here about splitting the screen. So you guys remember, we have those, right? On the YouTube channel, I think. If not, we'll make sure we put something there. Or you can reach out to one of us if you have some questions about how parents, students, or you can do that. And Edutopia has another great article. So these are all linked right into the, why am I forgetting this word, you guys? The module, right into the module. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. And I thought that maybe we could just have a quick conversation about some of the things like that we might offer help with, suggestions, ideas. What do you guys think? If you were in the classroom, how would you be doing these differently or the same?
I think for the most part, this setting up a good structure and having a good structure to the conference is a really good idea. I think that would apply to both in-person and remote student-led conferences. I think one tip that I would have for teachers getting students ready to do this ahead of time would be to get them into the tech, make sure that they know how to share their screen, make sure they know how to get their work loaded up so that when they share their screen, it's right there for them to talk about, and give them some time to practice that ahead of time.
I agree. I think the practice is the really important piece. On that Edutopia article, there's actually some videos you can click on, and I was watching the kindergarten one earlier because thinking back to when I was a first grade teacher, it's not always easy to do the student-led conferences, but this teacher walks through how she does the practice, and the kids present to the other students in the classroom, and they take turns, and they build that practice on how they lead their conferences. So it can be done. There's some great ideas out there. Lisa says maybe we could post links to those resources on screencasting and screen sharing in the chat. Yes, we could do that. We will put that in with the video. Corey, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, so, I'm thinking back a few years and how I would have run conferences in the fall time without a pandemic. And I think the beginning of year conferences, I think that it's such a great start for us, because I feel like whether we're in the situation that we're in right now, or whether it's a quote unquote normal year, our conferences, while they do come at the end of the first quarter, for many of our students, that first quarter is spent building classroom community, 6 weeks of school, building routines, things like that. And so by the time we come to conferences, while we have things on the report card that we can go over with parents, a lot of what my conferences used to be were goal setting, and either students goal setting in the classroom and then sharing with parents, or goal setting with parents at conferences. And so I think, this year we've started several weeks later. So, less academics at the start of the year by the time conferences come. So I think it really provides us this nice opportunity for us as teachers to sit down with our students and our parents and ask them how they're doing, ask them how we can support them, ask them what they're looking for, what are their goals for this year for their children, because I know my goals for my own kids this year are very different than what they may be next year or the previous year. So I think that this gives us this great opportunity to have those conversations with parents and really focus on the whole student.
Yeah, agreed. I think too, it's a good opportunity to really build that community with the family too, right? So that leads to that, and to be able to have those sorts of conversations. Goal setting is so important, and it's a great opportunity for kids to be able to share what goals they have in mind, and how parents can support that, and how the school can support goals for the parents and students as well. Awesome. I think looking at it in a virtual sort of way, there are some things that might make it a little bit trickier. So if you have parents and students who aren't as tech savvy, let's say, or sharing some of their things, or sharing materials, sharing whatever they might share, could be tricky. So do you guys have some tips and tricks that we could share that might make that easier?
Yeah, I think having a few options available for families to do these conferences is a good idea. Don't put all your eggs in one basket is kind of the rule I would use here. If you rely only on this technology and the Google Meet, if it fails, you're going to be frustrated. One, understand that it could fail and give yourself permission to be okay with that. Two, have a few options available where plan A is the Google Meet with the screen sharing. Plan B might be the Google Meet without screen sharing, but maybe some hard copy stuff that the student has to show their parents. Plan 3 might be conference call on a cell phone with the speaker option going, but make sure those dial-in numbers are in a prominent place so that if A and B fail, you have plan C to go to. If you have those lined up ahead of time and one doesn't work, that transition to the next thing becomes more seamless, especially if you're okay with the idea that it could fail. Don't let yourself get frustrated immediately or worked up over it, because internet in one part of the state is different from internet in the other part of the state. And we have parents that are scattered all over the place. So you could have a very successful online conference with one student, and then in the next time slot, the first two options may not work. And that's okay. But just be prepared for those things and have a backup and a backup to a backup.
Great advice, Al.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing as Al, that a Google Meet, while maybe we feel most comfortable with it, our parents may not. And so I think giving them those options is really important. And I think just understanding that our parents are just as stressed and as worried as we are, and just a lot of understanding, I think, will really help our conferences this year.
Yes.
Yes, definitely. I was thinking when Al was talking about like having a backup to the backup to the backup, but having that communication go out ahead of time too, and thinking if this doesn't work, then this will be the next plan, and if that doesn't work, this will be the next plan. You know, drafting some sort of letter to send out, and also thinking about time. I think as a teacher and as a parent, being on that both sides of it, where I've talked too much and had conferences run over as a parent, or so thinking about the time that it typically takes for a conference, but giving yourself a little space and time in between for those things that might go wrong, for giving a little bit of leeway and a little more time. So being cognizant of that, I think, will make it a lot smoother and a lot less stressful as well. All right, guys, do we have any other advice, thoughts?
Jenny, I want to say that in one of the links that you included in the module, it may have talked somewhere, it talked about surveys for parents, like a pre-survey and a post-survey. And I know we don't want to overwhelm our parents with things to do, but they might be helpful. Number one, a pre-survey might help you identify the best way to reach parents or the way that they're most comfortable talking. And the post-survey might give you some valuable feedback, because chances are we will be doing virtual conferences again in the spring. So it would help you improve what parents would experience in the springtime.
Yeah, I can't find that one really quick. I was just going through it again, but I think you're right. I do remember seeing that. And this one.
Oh, it was this one.
There we go. Yes, it was, because it's so pretty. So this is the learning effect. So on the module underneath add is the second link. So if you click on that, that is what Corey's referring to, the pre-conference questionnaire. And you can actually click on that. I think this one was done in Google Forms. So again, if you would like some help with how to do a Google form, if you haven't done that before, just reach out to one of us. We'd be happy to help you with that as well. And there's probably a video out there someplace. And if so, we will also link that after the video is posted on YouTube. And yeah, like I just keep seeing this common theme of scheduling. So all the different types of ways to schedule and thinking about scheduling too. But yeah, I think a pre-conference questionnaire is a great idea, Corey. Stop sharing. Okay. Lisa says, tips, proactive communication with families in advance about Plan B if there is a tech issue is a great suggestion. Anything, I was just having a conversation with a teacher earlier, and we were discussing how anything new can add a little extra anxiety to ourselves, right? So anytime we can think about what might happen and plan for the might happen will reduce our stress and anxiety greatly. And that's, that leads us into our Wellness Wednesday, right? We have to take care of ourselves and each other. So that's one way of doing that, is just being prepared and thinking ahead. And relying on colleagues too, because our colleagues have great ideas. I remember a couple of years ago, there's a classroom teacher who was doing student-led conferences with her sixth graders. And she had them pre-record the conferences. So it was almost like a video to watch, because many of them were really apprehensive and anxious about speaking directly to their parents or family members. So they pre-recorded it, played the recording, and then said, "Do you have any questions?" And I'm just wondering if that wouldn't work in this sort of scenario too, if they were pre-recorded and then they could watch them ahead of time, like a homework kind of idea, or and then get together with the teacher. That could be some options, but reach out to each other. The best PD is down the hall. Who said that? That was in a book. All right. Well, if nobody has any final comments, suggestions, thoughts, we will see you all next week.
I think we
she
put a question in.
She did. Oh, I can't see it. Oh, do you have specific resources, suggestions for teachers about how to help students select meaningful work to share?
So I think this is where PLPs come into play. I was just having a great conversation with a teacher today about the PLPs that she's doing with her fourth graders and the goals that her fourth graders are setting. And so the work that they'll be choosing to share down the road it's going to all be tied to the goals that they selected for themselves that they want to improve in. So I think PLPs huge for driving student-led conferences.
Agreed.
Yeah, and those same questions apply even if students don't have a PLP set up. The questions you would ask about what work do you want to put in your PLP? Well, what work do you want to show your parents? What goals do you have? What do you know you need to work on? If you can answer those questions, that leads to a successful conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always think having students pick a piece of work that they're really, really proud of, and then asking them to pick a piece of work that they want to work to improve upon, and having discussions around those, and giving them a lot of the choice on what they want to bring forward.
Yeah, that voice and choice is huge. In that module too, the anchor activity anchor activity is another article by Tarrant, and in that it talks about student-led conferences. And I want to say in that piece there is something about how to have discussions with students about what they want to include to share with their families and how to talk about their work. And again, in that video that I was referring to earlier with the kindergarten student, that's what the kindergarten student did. She had a writing piece and she said, my next goal is to work on finger spaces. And I mean, how great is that? Because she recognizes the things that she did really nice in that writing piece and the things that she needs to work on next. So definitely the PLPs are really important. Goal setting. You've got some great questions today. Thank you. All right. Now I think that might be it. All right. If anybody has any other questions, concerns, please reach out to either one of the three of us. We are happy to help in any way we can. I think it's okay to speak for you guys, right? All right. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.